moment we all arrived at the academy, we've always been asked one simple question: why are you here? What's your purpose for being here? And as I imagine, the answers in this classroom are going to vary greatly from, I came here to play Division I sports, I came here because I wanted to fly, I came here because the educational experience was free, or even I came here because I was forced to. Now, while it is important for why we came here, what's more important is that we understand what we all agreed to do when we took the oath, which is to support and defend the Constitution, even if that means giving up our lives in the process. In Wilfred Owen's Dulce et Decorum est, Owen speaks of a similar idea, the idea for why soldiers choose to fight and die for their countries in war. Wilfred Owen, a British soldier himself and poet during World War I, uses an experience that occurred during the First World War of a gassing, where he saw one of his friends, soldiers, suffer the cruel effects of gas, to help portray his ultimate meaning, that the title of his poem, Dulce et Decorum est, pro patria mori, it is pure and honorable to die for one's country, is not true and is in fact just an old lie meant to attract soldiers to support and fight and die for their countries. He gets his point across through his use of imagery in the poem, where he describes this horrific gas attack that occurred, as well as, this, in addition to understanding his personal background and development throughout his life, really helps bring the context of this poem to life. So, the First World War was the first time that chemicals were used on a large scale as a form of weapon. And when the soldiers were originally enlisting and choosing to fight, it was unforeseen that chemical warfare would be used. And the range of chemical weapons went all the way from tear gas, which was non-lethal, all the way to mustard gas and chlorine gas, which was harmful and deadly. After doing some research and looking at his line when Owen writes, "Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning," I was able to infer that the gas being talked about was chlorine gas. Doctors and scientists and chemists all say that during the First World War, when the chlorine gas was detonated or exposed, it would produce sometimes a thick green cloud of gas where you could actually see the gas moving, see the soldiers affected. So I was able to come to the conclusion that this was a chlorine gas, which was in fact deadly, very harmful, and would cause a horrific choking, almost like you're choking on your own gunk in your throat. It was just a nasty experience that really haunted Wilfred Owen. And you can see this as he writes, "If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs." And he's telling this to the readers as a warning, a cautionary warning, saying, you might believe that what you're doing is pure and honorable. You might believe that this is the right reason for fighting the war. But trust me, when you're in the trenches, as I was, and you see your friend, and he's helpless, and you can do nothing to prevent him from his tragic life loss or tragic suffering, you're going to rethink why you chose to fight in this war. Additionally, understanding his background and how he developed throughout the war is important in understanding the context of the poem. Wilfred Owen grew up in a privileged upper-class family. He was said to live like a pompous life, and he came across as arrogant when he was young. And he always was aware that this thought, the old lie that it's pure and honorable to fight for one's country, existed, but he did not fall into that trap. In fact, he actually chose to enlist in the war to strike at the conscience of England, so a very theatrical reason to fight the war. He thought it was striking back at England instead of actually joining because it was pure and honorable. And his wartime experiences greatly accelerated his development. He was fairly young when he joined the war, and author Mr. Stallworthy, who wrote about his life, said that more than any other poet of his time or future times or previous times, that the act of war really transformed Owen unlike anyone else. And so you can see that while he's writing this poem of the war, he's got almost a resentful tone and almost harsh and cruel. He really wants to get across to his audience that don't fall into this trap, and that's really evident when he writes his last line saying, "My friend, you would not tell with such high zest the children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, Dulce et Decorum est mori." This line summarizes his thoughts of the whole poem, that Don't fall for the lie that it's pure and honorable to die for one country. Don't fall for that. And don't just go walking aimlessly into a battle when you don't know what you're going to experience. So even at the time that Dulce et Decorum Est was written, Wilfred Owen had no idea what the future would hold. The idea behind his poem and what he writes is timeless. Because as time passes and technology advances, the fog and friction of war changes with it. And while it was chemical warfare that was unknown then, it's cyber warfare now. So that's always going to be part of war. Additionally, the old lie is still present today. People are still taught that war is romanticized, and we see that in movies and literature still today. So understanding his personal background and understanding the imagery and context of the war really helps bring to light Wilfred Owen's meaning that the age-old lie, Dulce et Decorum Est, pro patria mori, it is sweet and honorable to die for one's country, is nothing but the old lie.